This video is about mistakes that people make with no contact and how those mistakes can turn what should be healing into pseudo-healing. Sometimes what feels like progress is just the relief of escaping a trigger. But that relief is not healing. It only keeps you from developing the skills and self-connection you actually need to build a real relationship. And ironically, the point of no contact, just like any relationship strategy, is to develop the ability to stay in contact without losing yourself. Being able to be separate without isolating yourself. But often what happens during no contact is just re-traumatization. If no contact becomes the point in itself, like proving to yourself that you can do it, then it's no longer healing. It turns into a battle between you and a certain part of you that you are trying to cut off. Here are 8 common mistakes people make with the no contact, and the one key absolutely needed for it to work. Mistake number 1, no contact often ends up being nothing more than just a disguised form of bargaining, which is a grief stage. In other words, use a no contact as a silent hope. If you're going no contact, hoping that they will come back or that they will change, you are actually energetically more hooked than if you stayed in touch. That is not healing. This is the bargaining stage. And it's always an attempt to manipulate reality. In this case, manipulate reality with waiting, to delay facing the truth that things do not look the way you would like them to. It's that logic of, if I just wait a little longer, maybe things will change. But that only traps you between fantasy and reality. Contact shows you who they are right now, not who you hope they'll become. And no contact with hidden hope just leaves a blank space. And your mind will fill it with fantasies because mind can't tolerate blank spaces. What you really need is to face reality. Not wasting your life waiting for it to rewrite itself. Mistake number 2, using no contact is as a control tool. When you use no contact to raise the stakes, create the mystery, or look more attractive, you're not really healing. You're trying to change their choices. And deep down, what it does, and the danger of it, is that it wires in the belief that your worth is not enough. That's literally the message you are giving yourself. And you have to manipulate to be chosen. And yes, it might work in the short term, but you will never feel secure in the relationship because the connection would seem like it would be impossible without performing. And deep down, you'll know they did not choose you. They chose the tactics. They chose the strategy. While what you really want is connection without fear, and where you feel enough as the way you are. And no contact, when used this way, just makes it harder to reach. And remember, understanding these mistakes is one thing, but changing them in your actual relationship is another. And if you are ready to make that shift, if you're ready for support, book a free 30-minute call with me. And I'm going to walk you through the next steps tailored specifically to your situation. Mistake number 3, using no contact to punish yourself for being needy. Neediness is not a flaw. It's a signal that something inside you needs attention. For anxious attachers, those needs are often a mystery. It's sort of like a crying baby that hasn't learned to talk yet. You have to figure out what the baby is asking for and learn how to soothe it yourself. If you don't learn how to do it, no contact really becomes self-punishment. It becomes shame pressed down in silence. And what you resist anyway will always persist. And in this case, no contact will just multiply shame. Mistake number 4, seeing every text as breadcrumbing. That will just keep you defensive, assuming attack even when the other person might just be clumsy, grieving, or honest. But it's also, of course, a mistake to treat any vague message as if it has real meaning. When someone offers emotion without direction or contact without commitment. So the balance would be not to label everything as manipulation, because that will just keep you hard, closed, and unable to discern. But also not treat anything less than a clear path forward as really worth your emotional energy. But this can be also a great practice to stop turning other people's feelings into a plan of taking responsibility for them. You can allow their feelings to exist without making them yours to fix or without confusing them with actual actions. Take number 5, when no contact becomes a trauma pattern replaying itself. Basically, it is going for no contact without making sure that in your situation, it is not the same trauma, just in disguise. One of the reasons why no contact is so popular, because for many people, it's the same familiar pain that pretends to be the strength. For some, it is familiar escape strategy, cutting off instead of learning how to face conflict, how to express needs, and how to build boundaries. For anxious attachment, it is the same pain of inconsistency and uncertainty between what they want and what they get. And in this case, no contact is just a reenactment of trauma here. Mistake number 6. A lot of people confuse strategy of no contact with what's really just the absence of relationship. Basically, when it's just silence, they are stuck interpreting as meaning. No contact can be a strategy. But when it is a strategy, healthy no contact becomes an intentional boundary that is comfortable for both people involved. It's never meant to be an ambiguous pause full of projections. Both people can agree on why they're doing it, how long it will last, what the rules are, and when they'll check in to see if it's helping. It's meant to create safety and clarity for both. Not silence where each person interprets it alone and most likely differently. Mistake number 7, not understanding what no contact really is. We are not withdrawing from the other person. We are withdrawing from the feelings that arise in that contact. And those feelings are tied to parts of ourselves that haven't been fully integrated yet. If you initiated no contact, the healing part is exploring which feelings and which parts of yourself are so hard to face. For example, avoidant attachers often feel helpless when they realize that closeness is very important to them. And they confuse the influence of the other person with danger. If you're on the other side of no contact, when someone else has cut it off, remember that they might not have the psychological resources to face their own feelings. Their psyche will use defense mechanisms, and they might truly believe that the problem is only in you, or they might just avoid the feelings that come up with you. And this can trigger defenses in you too, like the need to control or influence what you can't, to avoid your own feelings. The important part is to focus on what you can influence and finding ways to have your needs met without relying on them. One thing to remember, when we are the ones who initiate no contact, in other words, when we cut off the contact with our own feelings, we are also cutting our connection with our desires. Feelings always point to our needs, and avoiding them means avoiding what truly matters to us. Mistake number 8, when no contact becomes a strategy that repeats itself. If no contact keeps repeating, you are just mastering how to leave or how to wait. No contact is meant to give space for healing. But if you've done it before and need to do it again, it's a sign that the deeper work is not happening. At that point, you're only mastering how to leave, which can shift you from anxious attachment, like if you're anxious attachment, can shift you from anxious attachment into avoidant patterns. And it may feel like progress, but it's just the other side of the same wound that is still running the show. And one key thing that makes no contact work is being honest with yourself. It's not wrong to do all those mistakes as long as you realize what is happening and accepting yourself through it and supporting yourself through it. That's always the first step towards healing and towards moving towards the strategies that will help you down the road to build the relationship that you would want to see in your life. And as always, show some love to this channel, like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video.